Roll call of supervisors, please. I was notified that Supervisor Noble will not be in attendance tonight, so he is excused, and it looks like everyone else is here. One more. Supervisor, there we go. 27 in attendance. Chairman comments. I had a couple of questions, as we would often do when we have meetings that have little, if anything, on the agenda. I don't know what's coming out of committee unless I'm attending the committees and I'm part of the process. So if there's an issue with light agendas, if the committee chairman will let me know so we understand what's coming forward. That's why she's poking me. I'm going to finish anyways. Then if there's an opportunity to cancel a meeting, I'm not suggesting I would have, but certainly if there's an opportunity to do it, we can discuss it. If I don't know what's coming, there's not much I can do until we get here. So enjoy the short meeting this evening. Citizen comments. You'll have 5 minutes to address the board. If you'd state your name and address, please, for the record. And speak directly into the microphone. Nope. Yes, thank you.
My name is Kelly Laura Rogers. My address is 5131 25th Avenue in Kenosha. I am here as a representative of the Urban League of Kenosha. I have absolutely nothing negative to say about other organizations or agencies in the city of Kenosha. I support and value the work that they do. However, as I have stated, I am here on behalf of the Urban League of Kenosha. And our organization is requesting that the appropriate committees of the Kenosha County Board review the decision of the Department of Human Services to deny our appeal of the award of the gang prevention contracts and investigate this matter. The Urban League of Kenosha has submitted a Freedom of Information Act request around the process and procedures used in the selection method and have based this request on a number of factors that we deem relevant. The competing entities were never disclosed, and we believe that there has been no fair, full, or complete disclosure prior to the award decision, placing a small organization such as ours at a disadvantage compared to larger organizations. The Urban League believes the request for proposals process has been tainted by the appearance of a conflict of interest. As a vitally important member of the evaluation, interview, and selection committees for the award, has a decades-long relationship with the recipient of the award. Lastly, we believe the decision not to support the Urban League's gang prevention program, which has been funded since the early 1990s, is discriminatory and designed to undermine the small minority organization in its efforts to produce and provide neighborhood gang prevention services. More than 20 years ago, Thelma Orr, Dr. Cassell Lawson, and Dr. Julian Thomas spoke in this community about the importance of enabling our small minority organizations to do important work like youth empowerment and anti-gang initiatives. At that time, back then, it was 2 organizations, primarily the CYC and another organization, that consistently received funding. Now it seems that we are regressing to those old ways of conducting business and leaving small minority organizations in this community crumbs and scraps from the communal table. This does not look like or feel like any progress. Some people have stated that the Urban League of Kenosha is a dying organization. It is no longer needed. I, as well as many others, strongly disagree. We believe that our small minority community organizations, like the Urban League of Kenosha, are very much still needed, and we request that this body please investigate this matter fully. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Any other citizen comments? Quickly.
Good evening. Good evening, County Board members. I'm Mary Beyer. I'm the Director of Juvenile Court Intake. I would like to speak regarding the RFP process in Kenosha, and specifically I was a panel member in the recent Gang Prevention Committee contract proposals. I would like to tell all of you that I've been on the Gang Prevention Committee for the last 15 or more years. I participated in a number of RFP processes many times before. This is not the first time that I was on a panel that an agency was not reselected or recontracted. It is a very highly ethical process. Each time I've participated, the standards are raised regarding the process. At no time was there any discussion regarding any of the proposals between panel members or with Human Services, during, immediately after, before, during, or immediately after any of the presentations. I cannot speak for the other panel members, but I can tell you that I based my votes on the presentations and on the proposals that I felt should have been granted the award based on the quality and the content. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Any other citizen comments? Seeing no other citizen comments are closed. Announcements of the chairman, I have none. Supervisor reports. Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to take a moment here to update the county board on what the IT subcommittee has been working on. So very briefly, we met twice in May to review 2 voting systems very in depth. The first was Roll Call Pro, the other was Roll Call Pro International. They are not the same company. Roll Call does much smaller municipal governments. Roll Call International does things like state legislatures and houses of Congress, in addition to providing technological services to municipal government. We did settle on a proposal that was put together by our IT staff that are part of the committee that basically outlines what the various vendors would provide to us. You have that on your desk in the form of a spreadsheet. Also, there was sent out last month an email to all department and division heads asking them to submit to the IT subcommittee what their costs are in terms of distributing documents, postage, staff time, and preparing those materials. That data is being compiled and will be brought back to the committee hopefully by the end of this month. Also on your desk, we do have the capacity to utilize document sharing through SharePoint, but you have to utilize your Kenosha County password to do that. So for those of you who do not use the email forwarding, who do use our county email system, the instructions there are on your desk for you to utilize SharePoint. Currently, there's nothing posted on SharePoint, but there are 2 committees, the IT subcommittee being one and the other being administration and finance, which do have links with which to post things. Should other committees wish to utilize SharePoint to post documents, certainly we can enter into a conversation with IT about how to do that. I will tell you that I don't believe that we have a policy regarding electronic posting of documents, but that will be in the coming months. Thank you.
Supervisor Hallman, if I could ask a question, could you maybe explain to the board the intentions of the committee going forward with regard to recommendation, budget? What's your process from here forward?
The process from here forward is that we know that Roll Call Pro costs much less than International Roll Call. That Roll Call Pro is in the process of trying to design gooseneck microphones. International Roll Call already has gooseneck microphones, but they are considerably more expensive. So we're really waiting to hear back from Roll Call Pro as to what that cost would be. In the meantime, we know that AVI Systems and particularly Lewis Sound do provide gooseneck microphones in the event that the Roll Call Pro price comes in much higher than Lewis Sound. We could potentially go with them and just use that portion as a substitute. So it's sort of an a la carte menu of options.
Thank you. Anything else? Supervisor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the last county board meeting, I mentioned that the state legislature was working on the budget, the Joint Finance Committee. The income maintenance area was the biggest area of concern for Kenosha County. We stood to lose $4.5 million. Certainly having a county executive who is a former legislator and who understands the budget process very well up there, and our staff worked very hard to maintain this. What was proposed in the original governor's budget was to centralize the income maintenance programs, medical assistance, food share, and food stamps, where our county citizens would have been calling into a call center rather than sitting down and working face-to-face. Our people down at the job center are really an asset to the community and those people in need. They are also an arm that verifies, looks out for fraud. There's a lot of reasons why that function should remain local as opposed to a centralized state system. The Joint Finance Committee on last Friday, with the strong assist from Representative Samantha Kirkman, who's been involved with this process with the county executive. I've contacted her and many others, got this done with I believe a 16-0 vote in the Joint Finance Committee. What they are urging us to do is to create regional centers. I believe we're in initial talks with trying to have some coordination of effort with Racine and Walworth County. We had $4.5 million to lose. It appears that we're going to lose about $673,000. Everybody's got to take it on the chin during these tough economic times. It is believed that as far as the impact on jobs and our employees down at the job center, that likely we may be able to handle this through attrition. So this is good news for the citizens of Kenosha County. I think we need to recognize the county executive and Samantha Kirkman for their efforts in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Clark. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From Highway Parks Golf Facilities last evening, we had a resolution for parks to accept a Greater Milwaukee Foundation Fund grant for the Lake Michigan grant. That is to fund a design and engineering for the Pike River Fish Passage Dam Removal Project. Basically what that is a dam that was built in the 30s in Petrifying Springs Park on the Pike River that has caused us much grief in recent years. It causes heavy flooding. When it rains, even moderate in Pets, it floods. We lose the access to the roads. We have not had the funds to do anything about it. This outfit wants to promote the passage of the fish further up the Pike River, so they want to pay for this dam being removed, and we are definitely on board. We will have some monies when this does come to the county board that we will have to pay in kind, and that will come out of the parks budget. It's going to be a minimal amount of this whole project. We also passed a resolution to pursue an application. I know I've discussed this about a DNR stewardship grant to partially fund a trail from our Silver Lake Park to the DNR boat launch on Silver Lake. We've had some discussions with the DNR back and forth on the types of bridges they wanted us to construct that was making it an outrageous cost. The application time to go after this grant was running out, so we did apply. That's not saying that the conditions from a DNR that we actually haven't heard from in a month would be something that we would go forward with, but we did apply for that last night. Highway Director's report last night gave us the paving schedule for this summer. We're going to be paving 13.4 miles of highway in the county of Kenosha. That's down from some of the old heydays where we do 18, 19, but this is a new time in our budget system. It's also a new way of doing roads. The lifespan of roads is improving, and if people do remember and watch what's been going on in recent years, we are doing a lot more widening on these roads, and some of that is for bike travel, pedestrian travel. So the cost per mile has increased. Mr. Sipsma gave us a full report on the way they audit all the roads in Kenosha County, and he said that we're in good shape, and we're keeping up at this time. In parks, we had an opening, not a first-time opening of the Highway KD Park in Wheatland and Randall Township on Memorial Day weekend and then last weekend. The initial approach here was to go slowly and go for an every second weekend approach to opening that park. After the feedback we received from the people there and the time spent refilling the mailbox that we have maps and the phone calls that I received and that the department received, we last night decided that rather than have people putting on their calendars and guessing when that park would be open, that we would have it open every weekend. The cost to the county is nothing. We have a man that goes to the dog park there a quarter mile away, and in the morning he opens the gate. The sheriff's department closes the gate. Otherwise we have no staff. We have people that are doing catch and release fishing and hiking the trails, and from what we did see in those first 2 weekends, I'm sure there was a couple sneakers running over a hill, but we didn't see any buckets of fish coming out of the lake. And we are still working with the state again on our stocking and how we're going to work with that resource that we have. So that's the KD Park. Also last night we heard from the golf department, and naturally if people remember, you forget on these days when we're all consumed with the heat, but we had a miserable April, and we didn't have a really nice May. We had some bad weekends. So with all our promotions, we're not in bad shape, but the golf revenue is down, but our costs are down almost in a comparable sum. Our biggest concern this year, and I know I talked about this last month, is the closing of Highway 75. We are in the process of putting out 200 signs at various locations to show people how to get to the golf courses. The DOT is working with us on an approach to get people from Illinois up, 142 and across. From Milwaukee area, we have signs and ways for people to approach that. Another thing that we discussed with the highway director last night was the resolution 352 that I believe was in the newspaper this week from the legislative committee, and that one affects the county's approach to doing some of our own work. Now, Mr. Sitzman was going to be at a meeting with the Counties Association today, the highway department people. They're working vigorously against this. I talked to Representative Kirkman yesterday, and she said, we're trying to protect these small business people, and my approach back with her was, we're trying to protect taxpayers here. We do have projects that we have the expertise to perform. Specifically, and the one I quoted was the golf course cart paths that came in at a very high rate last year. I think it was about $145,000. And we discussed and are on, at least we were on track to purchase a small paving machine. We have a sought-after paving crew in Kenosha County. We, in previous years, it's gone down, but have done work for Racine County, Milwaukee County. Our paving crew has done bridge decks. We have a highly professional crew. The theory here was, we've got a fantastic paving crew. We've got a job that's overpriced. Let's pave our own paths. So this bill would take that ability away from Kenosha County, along with other little things that are in that bill that people don't realize. So we're hoping, and as Representative Kirkman said, we're going to try some compromises. But to think that committee, in a just universal thought that evening, came up with this is being very naive. What we're dealing against here is the very heavy lobbying crew from the road people. They are notoriously the highest paying lobby groups, anybody that knows what goes on in Madison. So that is who is behind this, and it's a big fight. But what it is is municipalities, Kenosha County is not going to be as affected as some counties. Some counties rely on their townships, hiring them to do their paving, and this is going to take this away. If you look at what our paving is this year, $1,200,000. If, say, Lafayette County, I'm just pulling that out, if they do a lot of paving for the townships in their county, this will take that away. So it's something that we have to vigorously, and last night we had Mr. Sipsma begin, and Mr. Arbit, along with Mr. Cruiser, who's been working heavily on this also. They're drafting something in opposition. We've already voiced opposition, but we want to have something to our people. I know Representative Barca has come out against this, and even Mr. Ellis from the party in power is vehemently against it, and I do believe it's because his county is going to be hurt by this. So that's a very big item. From facilities, we had a wrap-up given to us on the Pringle Center building roof repair. That's done. Kemper buildings, I know everybody's seen that in the paper. That's done, seeded, grass growing, tennis courts are gone. The Molinaro Restoration Project, we are 7.5 days behind because of weather since the beginning of that project. That's not an insurmountable thing. I know there was questions on the employment on that project. To date, there's 22 total workers on site. 4 are from Illinois, 4 are from Kenosha, and 14 of the other are from Wisconsin. The public safety building, we're working right now on just the HVAC. Lower level remodeling project at the administration building here is wrapping up. And I know I have some more stuff, but I think that's good enough for tonight. The committee process, Mr. Chairman, I believe with the combination here is working very well. We've had 2 very successful meetings. We have a very professional staff, so we're getting very good updates. If anybody has any questions, they can always contact. Thank you.
I keep getting a look from Supervisor Hallman because before the meeting I asked him to make sure he was brief. And apparently I was 1 row off when I made that request.
One more thing, Mr. Chairman. When you did mention that, you know, people said, well, why would we have a meeting? When we have a successful committee meeting with this much taken care of on an agenda, that's why you have a meeting, so that I can share this with everybody in this room. So that's
I'm encouraged that this committee restructuring is making sense. One question for you. A while back, yourself, myself, I believe Chairman of Finance was in attendance. We had a meeting with the county executive, the director of golf, a couple of others in the room. We talked about and strategized about some long-range planning, etc. This is months ago now. I believe I have heard, I think at last count was nothing on a follow-up from that meeting. You know what meeting I'm talking about?
the long-range planning for golf.
Yes.
Yes.
We had a meeting in the executive's office. Could you bring that up, find out where that's at, and get some information back to myself, maybe finance chairman as well, others who were in the room. I believe Supervisor Brunig may have been there. I don't recall now, but if you could, I'd appreciate that. Supervisor O'Day.
Thank you, Chairman. On your desk, you'll see a financial statement for Brookside Care Center. Lori Staves, the financial person responsible for this, will be presenting this to the Human Services Committee, I believe, next week. So she'll go through this quite in depth. If there's any questions on it, then you can come to that meeting and ask them. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Elmer, I'm going to back up 1 second because one of the discussion points had to do with a citizen group who had a serious interest in seeing the golf courses thrive, survive, continue to grow. We talked about tapping into them to create an advisory board, potentially a group that could assist from the community, the golf community, to talk about it. I've heard nothing on that. I'd love some feedback and understanding of where that might be headed. Supervisor Gens, Jeff Gens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick update from Joint Services. We had a very brief meeting tonight to iron out some insurance issues with our interim director. It was just one item, very quick. Also on July 5th, we will be interviewing 5 candidates for the director's position, and our next meeting will be June 28th. So if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to let me know. Thank you.
So you interview on July 5th?
Yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Clark, nothing? Okay. Clerk.
County Executive Appointments. 1, Kenneth Kosabowski to serve on the Kenosha County Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Refer to Planning Development and the Extension Education Committee.
Lou Molitor to serve on the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board.
Refer to Human Services.
Edna R. Highland to serve on the Brookside Board of Trustees.
Refer to Human Services.
C. Murray Adler to serve on the Kenosha County Commission on Aging.
Also to Human Services.
Claims, John Becker, mailbox damage.
Refer to Corporation Counsel.
Marcia Ranson, cell phone damage.
Refer to Corporation Counsel.
Gina Miller, vehicle damage.
Also refer to Corporation Counsel.
Approval of the May 17th, 2011 minutes by Supervisor Gail Gentz.
Supervisor Gens.
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion moved by Supervisor Gail Gens, seconded by Supervisor Boyd Frederick. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Motion to adjourn, Supervisor Michael, seconded by Supervisor Holman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.